My relatives dismissed my efforts until I built long-term financial security and professional growth. Then one smart financial choice revealed their expectations and permanently changed the balance of influence in our family. So you're just going to let the family suffer while you sit on all that money? My uncle's voice cut through the Sunday dinner table like a knife. Everyone stopped eating. I looked up from my plate, fork halfway to my mouth. "Excuse me." "You heard me," he said, leaning back in his chair. "We all know you're doing well now. Real well." Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. I'm 32, single, and I work in software development. For the past 8 years, I've been grinding harder than anyone in my family has ever seen. But apparently, that's now a problem. "I've worked for everything I have," I said carefully. My aunt cleared her throat from across the table. "Nobody's saying you haven't, sweetie. But family takes care of family, right?" The way she said it made my stomach turn. This wasn't a casual conversation. This was coordinated. My cousin Derek smirked from the corner, phone in hand, not even pretending to hide his interest in the confrontation. "What exactly are we talking about here?" I asked, setting down my fork. My uncle exchanged a glance with my father, who hadn't said a word yet. "Derek needs help with his business loan," my uncle said. "$20,000 should cover it." I blinked. $20,000. "It's not like you can't afford it," Derek chimed in, finally looking up. "You just bought that new car." "I saved for 3 years for that car." "Exactly," my aunt said, as if that proved her point. "You're good with money. You know how to make it work." The logic was so twisted I almost laughed. But the serious expressions around the table told me this wasn't a joke. My mother touched my arm gently. "Maybe we should discuss this later," she whispered. "No," my uncle said firmly. "We're family. We discuss things as a family." I looked at my father again. He was staring at his plate, jaw tight. He wasn't going to help me here. "I'm not giving Derek $20,000, I said. The room went silent. My aunt's face flushed red. "After everything we've done for you, what have you done for me?" The question came out harder than I intended, but I was done playing nice. My uncle stood up, chair scraping against the floor. "We were there when you were nobody. When you were struggling to get through college. When you couldn't even afford a decent apartment. You mean when you all made fun of me for working 3 jobs? I shot back. When you called me obsessed. When you said I was wasting my time with computers? We were joking," my aunt said quickly. "Didn't feel like jokes." Derek rolled his eyes. "God, you're still sensitive about that? We're proud of you now. Now that I have money." "That's not fair," my mother said softly. But it was fair. It was the truth, and everyone at this table knew it. For years, I'd been the family disappointment. The kid who chose coding boot camps over a real degree. The one who lived in a studio apartment with 2 roommates while working 60-hour weeks. The one who didn't come to family gatherings because I was too busy building something. And they never let me forget it. Every holiday was a reminder of my failures. Every conversation was a comparison to my cousins who had real careers. Derek became a personal trainer. My other cousin, Melissa, worked in marketing for a local company. They had normal jobs, normal lives, normal schedules. I was the weird one. The obsessive one. The one who didn't know how to live a little. Then 3 years ago, I got my break. A startup I'd been consulting for part-time got acquired. My equity package was substantial. Not millionaire money, but enough to change my life. I paid off my student loans. I bought a modest house. I invested the rest carefully, diversified, built a safety net. I kept working, kept grinding, kept building my career. And suddenly, I was invited to every family gathering. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know how I was doing. Suddenly, I was successful. "I'm leaving," I said, standing up. "You're being dramatic," my uncle said. "I'm being honest. Something this family doesn't seem to value." I grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair. My mother stood up, tears in her eyes. "Please don't go. We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about, Mom. They don't want to talk. They want my wallet." "That's not true," she protested. But even as she said it, I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. She knew. She'd always known. I walked out before anyone could stop me. The drive home was a blur. My phone started buzzing before I even made it to the highway. First my mother, then my aunt, then Derek, with a text that read, "Real mature bro." I turned my phone off. At home, I sat in my living room, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. This wasn't the first time money had become an issue with my family. 6 months ago, my aunt had asked to borrow $5,000 for her daughter's wedding. I'd said yes, stupidly thinking it would be paid back. It wasn't. When I brought it up, She acted offended that I'd even mention it. Family doesn't keep tabs, she'd said. For months ago, my uncle needed help with his mortgage payment. $3,000. Gone. Also never repaid. Also met with offense when I suggested a repayment plan. You make so much now, he'd said. What's $3,000 to you? 2 months ago, Derek asked for help with his car payment. $800. At least that was smaller. But still gone. Still no repayment. Still met with expectation rather than gratitude. I'd been keeping a mental tally, hoping I was wrong. Hoping this wasn't a pattern. But tonight confirmed it. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as a resource. A bank that didn't require credit checks or repayment plans. I turned my phone back on around 11 that night. 43 missed messages. I scrolled through them, each one more manipulative than the last. My aunt. I can't believe you'd abandon your family like this. We raised you better. My uncle. You've changed. Money changed you. We're disappointed. Derek. Guess success really does go to people's heads. Thanks for nothing. My father. Finally. Come back next week. We'll talk properly. No apology. No acknowledgement of what happened. Just an expectation that I'd fall in line. I didn't respond to any of them. The next morning, I called my financial advisor. I need to restructure some things, I told him. What are you thinking? I want to set up a trust. Ironclad. Something that protects my assets long term. He was quiet for a moment. Family issues? How'd you guess? It's always family issues, he said with a knowing sigh. Let's talk specifics. We spent 2 hours on the phone. By the end, I had a plan. A trust that would protect my assets, ensure my future, and make it legally complicated for anyone to claim I owed them anything. It felt cold. It felt calculated. It felt necessary. My mother called that afternoon. I almost didn't answer, but I knew she'd keep trying. Hey, Mom. Sweetheart, please come to dinner this week. Your father wants to apologize. Does he? Or do you want him to? She was quiet. I just want my family together. Your family treated me like an ATM last night. They're struggling, honey. You know how it is. I do know how it is. I lived it for years. And none of them helped me. That's not fair. It's completely fair, Mom. When I was eating ramen for weeks to afford rent, where were they? When I was working overnight shifts and morning shifts back to back, who offered help? You never asked. I shouldn't have had to ask. But they don't have that problem, do they? They asked just fine. She started crying. I hated that sound, but I couldn't back down. I love you, Mom. But I can't do this anymore. I can't keep being the family piggy bank while also being the family punching bag. Nobody's punching you. They did for years. They just stopped when I became useful. I hung up before she could respond. It felt terrible. It felt necessary. 2 weeks passed. I didn't go to dinner. I didn't respond to messages. I focused on work, hit the gym harder than usual, and spent my evenings reading. Then my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello. Is this really what you want? My father's voice. Calling from someone else's phone because I'd stopped answering his. Is this really what I want? Dad, I wanted respect. I wanted to be seen as more than a wallet. You're being selfish. The word hit harder than I expected. Selfish? I'm selfish for not wanting to fund everyone's mistakes. Derek's business could really take off with that investment. Then he can go to a bank like everyone else. Banks want collateral. They want credit history. You know how hard it is. I do know. I lived it. I got rejected by 7 banks before I found one that would give me a small business loan for my first freelance setup. You know what I did? I worked harder. I built credit. I proved I was worth the risk. Times are different now. No, Dad. Times are exactly the same. The difference is Derek wants the reward without the work. My father was quiet for a long moment. When did you become so cold? When I realized being warm meant being used. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd never spoken to my father like that. But I also couldn't keep pretending. A month later, I got a text from Melissa, my other cousin. Unlike Derek, she'd never asked me for money. Can we meet for coffee? No drama, I promise. I was hesitant, but I agreed. We met at a cafe halfway between our places. She looked tired, stressed. Thanks for meeting me, she said, stirring her latte nervously. What's going on? I wanted to apologize. For the family. For all of it. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know it had gotten this bad, she continued. I knew they'd asked you for help before, but I didn't realize it was constant. It's been building for a while. Derek won't shut up about it. He tells everyone you're selfish, that you've forgotten where you came from. And what do you think? She met my eyes. I think you worked your ass off for years while the rest of us coasted. I think you earned everything you have. and I think they're jealous." The honesty was refreshing. "Thank you for saying that. I'm not asking for anything," she said quickly. "I just wanted you to know that not everyone feels entitled to your success." We talked for an hour after that. She told me about her own struggles, her own frustrations with the family dynamics, how my uncle had asked her for money too, smaller amounts, but still with the same expectation of no repayment, how my aunt constantly compared her kids to each other, fostering competition instead of support, how my father had become more withdrawn over the years, less willing to stand up for anything. "I'm moving," she said finally. "Across the state. New job, fresh start. Good for you. You should consider it too. I've thought about it. But this is my home. I built my life here. I don't want to run." "Then set boundaries," she said firmly. "Real ones. Legal ones if you have to." I told her about the trust I'd set up. Her eyes widened. "Wow, you're serious." "I have to be. They're going to lose it when they find out." "I know." 2 months after the dinner blow-up, my uncle called from his own phone. I answered, curious what had changed. "We need to talk." "I'm listening." "Derek's business failed. He's filing for bankruptcy." I felt a flash of sympathy, then pushed it down. "I'm sorry to hear that. If you'd helped him." "Don't." I cut him off. "Don't put his failure on me. 20,000 could have saved him. Or it could have delayed the inevitable. Bad businesses fail, Uncle Dave. That's reality. You're heartless. I'm realistic. Something this family has never been. We took care of you." "When?" "Give me one example of when you took care of me financially." Silence. "That's what I thought," I said. "You were there for holidays and birthdays and casual hangouts. That's family. That's love. But you never helped me build. You never invested in my dreams. You mocked them. So don't pretend now that you're owed something for basic family presence. I'm your father's brother. And that used to mean something to me. It doesn't anymore." I hung up. The calls kept coming for a while, then slowly stopped. Family gatherings happened without me. Holidays came and went. I spent Thanksgiving with friends. Christmas alone, which was honestly peaceful. My mother sent care packages and cards, always with a note asking me to reconsider. I never did. 6 months after the confrontation, I got a LinkedIn message from Derek. "Hey man, I know things are weird, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. I was entitled. You were right. I'm working a regular job now, rebuilding. No hard feelings." It wasn't eloquent, but it felt genuine. I messaged back, "Thanks for saying that. Good luck with the rebuild." He responded, "You free for a beer sometime? Just to talk. No asks." We met up 2 weeks later. He looked different, humbler, worn down by reality in a way that had clearly taught him something. "I was an idiot," he said over his beer. "I thought success was owed to me because I had a good idea. Most people think that. You didn't. I did it first." Reality corrected me pretty quickly. We talked about his bankruptcy, his new job doing sales for a tech company, his plans to rebuild his credit and maybe try again in a few years. "I don't expect us to be close," he said. "But I didn't want us to be enemies either. We're not enemies." Good. It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was something. My aunt and uncle never apologized. My father sent one text 6 months in, "I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. A year after the dinner, I got promoted to senior architect at my company. The raise was substantial. I bought an investment property. I increased my retirement contributions. I donated to charities I cared about. I lived my life on my terms. Melissa invited me to her housewarming party in her new city. I drove out for it, met her new friends, saw her new life. She'd built something good for herself, away from the toxicity. "You seem lighter," I told her. "So do you." We were both right. Distance had given us perspective. Boundaries had given us peace. I still think about that dinner sometimes. The moment everything shifted. The moment I realized that love and obligation aren't the same thing. That family can be toxic even when they claim they care. That success changes relationships, but it reveals them too. My relatives dismissed my efforts for years. They mocked my choices, questioned my priorities, treated my dedication like a character flaw. Then I succeeded. Then I built something stable, something secure, something worth having. And suddenly, I was the one who owed them. The one who was supposed to fund their mistakes and finance their dreams. The one who was selfish for protecting what I'd built. That one financial choice, refusing to give Derek $20,000, revealed what I'd been afraid to see. I wasn't family to them. I was a resource. And once I stopped being a useful resource, I stopped being worth their time. The balance of power shifted that night. Not because I gained power, but because I stopped giving it away. I don't regret my choices. I don't regret the boundaries. I don't regret protecting my future. Some people will call that cold. Some people will call that selfish. But those people weren't there when I was struggling. They weren't there when I was building. They were only there when I was useful. And I refused to live my life as someone else's safety net while they criticized the very work that made the net possible. My phone buzzed as I drove home from Melissa's housewarming. A text from my mother. I miss you. No pressure. Just wanted you to know. I pulled over and stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. I miss you too, Mom. But I can't come back to the way things were. She responded immediately. I understand. Can we have lunch? Just us. I hesitated, then agreed. We met the following week at a quiet restaurant. She looked older, tired. Your father doesn't understand, she said after we ordered. But I think I'm starting to. Yeah. You were protecting yourself. You've been protecting yourself for years. I nodded. I'm sorry we made you feel like you had to. It was the first real apology I'd gotten from anyone. Thank you. I can't promise things will change with everyone else, she continued. But I want to try. With us. With our relationship. I'd like that. We talked for 2 hours. Really talked. Maybe for the first time in years. She told me about her own frustrations with the family, her own exhaustion with the constant drama and competition, how she'd felt caught between her son and her extended family, trying to keep peace when maybe peace wasn't possible. I should have stood up for you that night, she admitted. You were in an impossible position. No, I was your mother. That should have been enough. We left with a plan to meet monthly, just the two of us. A way to rebuild that didn't involve everyone else's baggage. It's been 2 years since that dinner now. I still don't attend family gatherings. I still don't take calls from my uncle or aunt. Derek and I are cordial, friendly even, but not close. Melissa and I stay in touch regularly. My mother and I have lunch once a month without fail. My father and I exchange occasional texts, surface-level stuff, but the distance remains. I'm okay with all of it. Some relationships aren't meant to be saved. Some boundaries are meant to be permanent. Some distances are healthy, necessary, protective. I built my life on my terms. I worked for everything I have, and I refuse to apologize for protecting it. The family wanted financial security from me without ever contributing to my journey toward that security. They wanted the results without respecting the process. They wanted the reward without acknowledging the sacrifice. And when I said no, when I set boundaries, when I chose myself, I became the villain in their story. But in my story, I became free.